Calling all Romancing the Pod listeners, Paige, I have an announcement.
Ooh, is it another way that you can complete us?
To survey pletion. We're conducting an audience survey at gum.fm/romancingthepod, and we want to hear from you so we can keep making the content you love.
You know we've got ads. You've heard them. You listen to this podcast.
I've done a few.
More than me.
It's not a race.
It's not a race. It's fine.
I control the means of production, Paige.
That's right. But we want the ads to be things that you actually want to hear about.
Yes.
And so in order to improve that experience, we need to know a little bit more about you, our audience.
And the survey is quick and easy and a free way to support the podcast.
Yeah, it helps us out.
Yeah, it'll take you like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like one Factor meal.
And it's almost as delicious.
So close.
So if you love us, and we know you do, go to gum.fm/romancingthepod to fill out our audience survey.
Ooh, Paige, spell it for me, baby.
That's GUM.FM/ROMANCINGTHEPOD.
It's weird to me you didn't pause where the word ended, but
Well, I was in a rhythm. Again, that's GUM.FM/ROMANCINGTHEPOD. Romancing the Pod. You're listening to it.
You know what the show's called. You spelled it when
Yeah.
you Googled it. You guys figured it out.
Yeah.
We believe in you. Please do the survey, though. It really does help.
Yay.
Let your imagination soar with Audible. With stories across every genre, from expert advice to fantasy, you'll be inspired to imagine new worlds, possibilities, and ways of thinking. Listening can even lead to a positive change in your mood, habits, and overall well-being. As an Audible member, you'll get to choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog, including bestsellers and new releases. Allow yourself to delve into the spooky this season by listening to classics like Stephen King's The Shining and Pet Sematary. There's more to imagine when you listen. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/imagine or text imagine to 500-500. That's audible.com/imagine or text imagine to 500-500.
You better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romancing the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Pod. I'm Paige.
And I'm just giving my first name because Paige forgot how to do the intro to this podcast.
I did. My brain is so fried. We recorded this. It'll be 5 times in 9 days or whatever it is by the time we're done.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
And I'm Todd Schlosser. And this week I made you guys watch
Mamma Mia!
Here we go
again.
Paige.
Yes.
You're welcome. I also want to point out that was a pretty solid brag about how much I loved this movie, I guess. But nothing in this movie deals at all with a destination wedding.
No.
I'm not even sure there's romance in it, really. It's just like people are already in established relationships and they remain in those established relationships.
Well, not much happens in this actual movie.
How dare you, Paige? We get to see the main characters, Amanda Seyfried's mom, Donna, who would be Meryl Streep.
Get gushed 3 times in 4 days.
Oh, we get to see her eat, pray, fuck all over Europe. Well, really, it's just on her way to Greece, to this island. Yeah.
Mostly just to Greece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
She's got a type.
Yeah.
And it's just randos she finds in Greece. I don't think she sleeps with one Greek dude, actually. I think I bet she slept with the guy who owned that bar because, like, he might not have been in a great band, but he was still in a band. And as someone who was not in a great band, it still gets you laid.
Your ears are made of cotton. That is something that is said in this movie when someone calls that band great.
Yes.
Here are my notes for this movie. Because first of all, not much happens.
Right.
It is a wild fever dream.
It's amazing.
But they absolutely learned from the last movie in a bunch of weird ways that would make this movie better if there was any story, so like, hear me out.
Please.
Welcome to my TED Talk. The reason why the first one as a play works with a story that is thin like tissue paper with a giant Maury Povich episode-sized hole in the middle of it.
Paige, how is it a thin plot? We're trying to find out which one of these three dudes is her dad, and by the end of the movie,
We do not.
they're so brave, they won't even tell us.
They won't even tell us.
It's an insane movie. Like, why does it exist at all? And I'm so glad it does.
Right. But part of the reason that they get away with it
Sure.
in the first one, both play and movie, is that it features ABBA's greatest hits.
Right.
And everyone fucking loves ABBA.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the second movie. Part of the things that we complained about in the first one was that it was shot almost by someone who doesn't know how to make a movie musical, but does know how to make a stage musical. And that resulted in some dance scenes that were not great, some musical scenes that weren't shot quite well, and they kind of dragged on. It wasn't a great viewing experience. I think this one, completely different. I think this
Paige.
movie is shot fantastically.
Yo, the spectacle of it all. I mean, yeah, when they're at the hotel on the mountaintop or whatever, it is the most settiest set that I've seen since like 1965.
Sure.
The year after they invented the Pop-Tart page.
As we discussed prior to this recording, yes.
But everything else is pretty amazingly shot. And I gotta say, when they're dancing and they're like on the boats coming to the
Yes.
shore, and you've got
Yes,
like
I was like, this is so much better than the first one.
2 or 3 boats full of people in frame dancing choreography.
Yes!
Like, is it a good movie? No, it's not.
No, this movie is awful.
It's a terrible movie.
It's a terrible movie, but it is shot incredibly well.
Yeah, it's an amazing spectacle.
Yeah.
It is insane. It's insane, Paige. I love it.
The difference between a movie musical and a stage musical. At a stage musical, you've got static frames, so you're just kind of
Yeah.
filming all the blocking in that frame, and you don't really move the camera that much. But for a movie, that's very, very boring. And we talked about this on our episode about the first one.
Yeah.
This one understands that. We're getting close-ups. We're getting changes in direction. We're getting overhead shots. We're getting shots that spin with the dancers. And I'm like, whoever shot this did a great job. Like,
Yeah.
they're dealing with a script that might not even be a script, but they're doing a great job. Point number 2, this movie was smart enough to not make anyone who is not an established good singer have to sing for more than one verse of a song. They knew it.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, they'll sing in group things where we don't have to hear it, or they'll sing once a cappella where they're sad, so we know that they're sad, and so we're not going to question it very much.
And it's a cappella, so the key doesn't matter. Like, they can be all over the place. It's kind of fine.
Right.
We know it's bad, but it doesn't hurt your ears. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We're not making anyone do it live. That's nonsense. Like, because
Right.
it's a movie musical.
Right.
We're not giving Pierce Brosnan 3 whole songs. We are making changes, right?
I honestly, and I said this to Natalie while we were watching it, if I was Pierce Brosnan in the first movie, when I was asked to do 3 songs, I'd have been like, hey,
Can you get someone to dub?
yeah, maybe we should get someone who can like really sing to dub in my parts.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy to sing it live in the moment that we'll replace later. It'll sound terrible,
Sure.
but we'll just replace it later. I wouldn't want to turn in a bad performance
Yes.
for the people. Anyway, I just don't understand why they let people do that.
I don't know.
To them. I don't mean like why they let the actors do that. I don't understand why the actors sign up to do that. That's nuts to me.
I don't know. And even when we bring in Meryl Streep, who struggled a little bit in the last one with the singing, they gave her one song. They clearly coached her well. They have her sing with Amanda Seyfried. You're crying, so you don't notice if it's bad. Like, they clearly were like, we have solved the musical aspect problems of the first movie. And for that, I credit them.
Yes, I agree with that completely. I also think the fact that you have notes about this movie is insane because it's utterly perfect from frame to frame. But I didn't cry at that scene with Meryl Streep and Amanda Seyfried at the end.
Oh, I sobbed. I absolutely sobbed.
And Paige, you know me.
Yes.
That's probably the most shocking thing people have heard me say
Yes.
ever on a podcast.
I know. I'm shocked just right now.
But Paige,
Why?
it's because I was like in my brain thinking of like, what if this scene at the church isn't like whatever, a baby baptism? I don't know what they're doing.
I think it's a baptism, yeah.
Yeah, I figure it's something like that. But what if they're about to perform an ABBA ritual and they're gonna like put the spirit of Donna in that baby?
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, when I saw Meryl Streep walk in, I was like, oh my God, are they about to like...
It's like Hereditary.
I literally said, this is just like Hereditary. And Paige, Natalie was like, excuse me?
No, I'm with you.
I know, I can't believe you said Hereditary. That's insane.
Yes.
Because, and the song lyrics say possess.
Yes, they do.
So much.
Yes, they do.
I was like, oh my God, this is, but they don't ever like, they don't show it on screen, but I do think the spirit of Donna goes into that baby child.
Sure. Donnie is the baby child.
Oh, is it? I didn't even know if it was a boy or a girl. I just was like,
They establish it's a boy, yeah.
okay, whatever.
Named Donnie, so, whatever, spirit lives on. I will tell you, there's another part in my notes later on, I'll wait till we get to it, where I had a very, very horror movie moment, and I was like, I'm going to bring this up on the podcast, and Todd's going to think I'm crazy. But now that you've said this, no, you're going to match my freak, and I'm excited.
Oh, I mean, you mean the part where Rosie is like riding in on the boat, and she hits her head on a coconut tree, and it gets knocked off? Yeah, that part was a lot like Hereditary too, Paige.
No, but wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't it be nice if Rosie's head...
Yes.
Sorry, yeah.
So those two things, I absolutely give this movie credit for.
Yeah.
Let's get into the stuff that don't work no well.
Sure. Everything. Paige, like this is not, like I was saying, it's not a movie.
It's a bad movie. It's barely a movie.
It's like it's a spectacle. It's so campy. It's so over the top. But yes, please give me your notes because they're all going to be right. Like I'm not going to deny it.
Here are the notes. Now, very wisely,
yes,
they took some of the ABBA songs that are in the play that did not get used in the first movie and repurposed them in this movie.
I remember you mentioning that as a fun fact on the last episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very smart choice. Because here's the thing about ABBA, and if you have not watched the This Is Pop documentary on Netflix, the episode on Scandinavian pop songwriting and why 90% of pop songs are written by Scandinavian songwriters.
It's because they invented...
Yes, because they basically invented pop, modern pop.
It's because they invented the quarter note triplet, Paige. It's a well-known fact. Every Katy Perry song features a quarter note triplet.
Yes.
And it's all written by the same Scandinavian dude, I think.
Yeah, they're all written. Well, but it's also, there's like, the documentary is fascinating. It goes over a history of Scandinavian songwriting for the last 50 years, and most of it starts with ABBA. Part of it relates to them singing in English when no one else did. It goes all the way back to Eurovision. Maybe that'll come up next week. Who knows? Anyway, because they sang in English, and this is a unique thing at the time, they did not necessarily fluently speak it.
No, they did not.
They're not native English speakers.
Yeah.
So the deeper you get into ABBA's catalog, the less the songs make sense. Where like the ABBA catalog of greatest hits, you're like, what a fucking banger. You go down the list and you're like, these are all amazing. Well, those are all in Mamma Mia 1. Mamma Mia 2, there's a handful of those. And then they're like, we still have to fill out the rest of this movie with other ABBA songs. Spoiler, you won't recognize most of them. And they're going to save the truly recognizable fun ones that are not in the first movie.
For Cher.
For fucking Cher. Give me a fucking Cher ABBA cover album, you fucking cowards.
You
Give it to me
monsters.
now.
Yes.
I love it.
Get her and Dolly on it.
Oh!
They're both 78 this year. Let's do it.
Cher has still fucking got it, man. Like, I didn't think ABBA could be so beautiful sung by an alto, but god damn it, it is. Anyway, so like, there's a bunch of songs in this that you're like, what the fuck is this song? And it's because they had to choose ABBA songs. They're scraping the bottom of the hits barrel.
I don't disagree, but I didn't realize how many B-sides of ABBA sort of slap.
So all the ones that you probably recognize that slap are probably the ones recycled from the first, the leftovers.
The ones that I knew also slapped, but I expected them to slap because I knew them.
I was not as much a fan of the others.
Oh, I mean, I like ABBA. I don't know what's wrong with me, but like I love pop music.
No, and there's like some of them that I knew, but then there's the one like the very first one, the teacher one. I was like, first of all, why are we opening on this song that no one's ever heard before? Like, what is
Paige,
happening?
What are you saying? We open on it because it's the perfect intro for the story we're about to watch. Are you serious?
is literally a nonsensical tone poem. And I say this as someone who really truly does enjoy ABBA. And it is peppy. And honestly, that's in this movie where I started to be like, oh, they learned how to shoot music videos.
I
like,
know.
oh, okay, great.
Oh, they hired Mick G to shoot this, maybe, because that's the world he came from. Like, I'm sure he could have nailed this.
Well, and they hired Lily James, who is fantastic.
She really is.
Incredible as Pamela Anderson. Like, great.
Holy shit, that was her. I forgot.
Right.
I remember her from the Guernsey Potato Peel Pie Society.
Oh, I read that book. That was amazing.
She's great in that movie, and so's the other main lead. Paige,
Yeah.
you would love that movie. Like, you should watch it.
I should watch that. I loved the book. The book was incredible.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, it's like right up your alley. Anyway, watch the movie. She's great in that. But I forgot she was Pamela Anderson in Pam and Tommy.
Oh.
It's because she's got like so much makeup on and like.
Yeah, she does have prosthetics and stuff, but
Yeah.
and she's great in this. Here's the thing. No one is bad in this.
No, everyone's great.
Everyone does great. It's just that there is very little story. Half the songs you don't know, and some of them don't make sense. And sometimes they change the words to try and shoehorn it in. And it's not as successful maybe as the first time. But by the time you get to the end of the movie, where they include Cher for points that do not make sense or add to the story much at all, but are fantastic, and you cannot look away from it, and you find yourself fist pumping, and then the most interesting man in the world shows up, this movie's fucking perfect. It's incredible.
And that man is Cher?
Yes, Mama, I am a rich man.
Thank you for understanding the reference. Because no one else is, because that's so niche. Like, that's a conversation you and I've had many times, but like, yeah.
It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. Is like,
I know. And you've told me specifically that, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if we've even mentioned it on the podcast, but like, I don't think anyone else would have gotten my joke except for you.
That's right.
Anyway, but Paige, instead of like trying to rebuttal or refute any of that shit, let me just paraphrase my friend Tommy Lee Jones set to an ABBA song.
Great.
I don't care. I love this movie. I don't care. Cher's in this movie. It's so good, Paige. It's amazing. I love it. And I cannot wait to talk about it with you scene by glorious scene. Or should I say music video by music video?
By music video. It is both intensely watchable and enjoyable and cringeworthy and awful at the same time.
Yes, it is like going to a Beach Boys concert with your parents. Like,
oh, that sounds fun.
It does, right? Like, it would be fun. Like, it is a spectacle. You are there to just not really think about the actual problems in the world.
And instead of Cher, it's John Stamos with a steel drum.
I'm sure you can play steel drums. Famously, John Stamos only plays drums that you can play while standing.
I didn't know that was a thing. I just do know that he played the steel drum specifically on a Beach Boys song.
If you ever watch him play like the drum set that I play, that I sit down to play.
Sure.
That motherfucker plays it standing up, and he's good at it.
That's like Sheila E. Sheila E. also plays standing up.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sheila E. is like a drummer. She's not an actress who like focuses on that and can also be a badass drummer. I think I just saying, I have a lot of respect for John Stamos.
Yeah, sometimes I just YouTube live performances of Sheila E. and watch them. She's great.
Yeah.
Get into it. But that's not what this movie's about. This movie's about fucking ABBA.
Sorry, yes, it's about ABBA. And I bet Sheila E. can nail some ABBA hits, because honestly, the drumming part's very easy.
There's not a lot of, I was going to say, there's not a lot of drums in ABBA. ABBA's not very drum heavy, except for Fernando, but mostly I think that's for effect.
Ooh, when they sing Fernando at each other.
Oh, I was singing along in my house.
That's what you're supposed to do.
And I'm here to tell you, Cher fucking nails those two songs where I'm like, I want her version. It's incredible.
She is great. I think it's very funny that her and Andy Garcia are sort of shout singing it at each other from across like the crowded area.
Across a wedding. Well, not a wedding, but you get it.
What would have been a wedding had I done any research and realized that this wasn't a destination wedding movie? Whatever.
It's fine.
Whatever. It's my wedding month. It's fine. We're going to figure it out. But Paige, before we get into it, I have one final question. And that is, Pierce Brosnan at the end of the last movie stayed with Meryl Streep. Like, they got married, right?
Yes.
So he stayed on that island.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that was to avoid having to come back to the U.S. and answer questions about his whereabouts on 9/11? I want to know if this is his cover.
I mean, I would have asked Robert Pattinson Pattinson, but we all know he's not here to tell us what happened.
Yeah, care to answer for that, Pierce?
Where were you? Does Greece extradite?
I don't know. Is that a sativa? Paige, I think perhaps we should just go through this movie scene by scene, but I'll say this. The Pierce Brosnan was somehow related to 9/11 or connected to 9/11 subplot of this podcast is, I think, the one that brings me the most joy.
Same. And I tried to explain it to somebody because I forget. Like, it is so ingrained in my 9/11 joke memory now.
Oh, I know. I made a joke about it at work, and everyone was like, Pierce Brosnan did 9/11?
What the fuck are you talking
Who
about?
are you saying this to? And I was
This
like,
has happened to me multiple times.
you know what you never want to say at an all sales team meeting? you guys would have got it if you listened to my podcast.
I've gone through it and been like, have you ever seen the movie Remember Me? And then it's usually half and half, where some people are like, ha ha, yes, I have. Okay, great. And the other half, I'm like, well, just so you know, at the end of the movie, Pierce Brosnan's son, Robert Pattinson, is in the towers when they explode. And when my mom watched it for the first time, she called me and said, I don't know. I think Pierce Brosnan had something to do with it, implying that somehow he had tricked Robert Pattinson into being in the towers.
That he murdered his son with 9/11.
And yes, and therefore had prior knowledge of the events of 9/11 before it happened, as if he was part of it being an inside job. And my mom was like, that's not what I meant, but like, I just think he knew. And I was like, I don't know what else you could mean. And thus began Pierce Brosnan did 9/11. I love it. I love it so much.
It's one of my favorite bits, and there's no reason for it. I hope the listeners know we're joking when we don't explain the whole thing. Anyway, well, let's go through the movie scene by scene. I'm going to leave that in, though, because that's a funny-ass story.
Yes.
And it's good to re-hype it for the listeners.
Yeah. If you're just joining us now.
Yeah. Also, let me just say this. Your parents might be dumb. I'm not talking about you specifically. No. I'm just saying, like, you should maybe, like, if your parents believe something, feel free to question it and do your own research. And largely I'm saying that, Paige, because most parents out there don't think Pierce Brosnan had anything to do with 9/11. And I think it's time the truth got out there.
And I think they're wrong. The truth needs to get out there. I was like, my mom is an incredibly smart lady, definitely smarter than me.
That's why I'm taking her side. I think she's right.
I think she was just trying to articulate something and didn't quite articulate it. And I was like, nah. I don't know, but I'm not going to listen to the rest of this sentence. Pierce Brosnan did 9/11.
Anyway, Pierce, if you want to come on the show and explain Remington Steele and 9/11, feel free to at any point.
Remington Steele, get into it. I fucking love Remington Steele.
That was pre-James Bond, Pierce Brosnan.
It was, and it's fucking great.
I've never seen it.
Brosnan's one of my favorite Bonds.
I've never seen it. I just watched a James Bond documentary, and I remember the name. Anyway, Paige, let's get into the goddamn movie. What are we doing?
Okay, we open on Remington Steele is a serialized episodic TV show.
Have you seen it? Stop it. Okay. Wait,
yes, I have seen it. It's great. I mean, I know you have a million other things to watch. You're not going to go back and watch Remington Steele, but it is a fun time.
I'm sure.
Anyway, we open on the island, and it's Amanda Seyfried, and she's mailing out invitations to come to something on the island. Meryl Streep is nowhere to be found.
It says grand reopening, and the envelopes say dad, dad, dad. So 3 different dad envelopes. And then we get a Chekhov's grandma.
Yes.
Because it's also grandma. And we never met a grandma. We do know maybe she wasn't as involved in Donna's life.
Right.
But we don't know anything about that really. We get a lot of context around grandma.
We do. We also know that, like, they all decided to not do a DNA test and just accept that it was mixed gush.
Yeah.
And that's how she came to be. So we're going to operate on that assumption.
Yeah, you know how babies are made, Paige.
Yeah.
You sleep with 3 dudes over the course of a month, and then their sperm joins together and busts up in that egg.
Not even a month. We will see in this movie that it is 2 to 3 weeks maximum, and it's actually probably less than that, depending on when you think she first slept with Bill.
I think that actually makes sense, Paige, because then there would be more question as to who actually was the dad, because they all happened within such a quick time. I'm not saying that's great, but far be it for me to judge someone who's trying to have a good time.
Yeah.
But I did love that we get that side of it.
Yeah, no judgment. It's just the timeline is it could be 3 dudes in 4 to 5 days or 3 dudes in 2 weeks. And it's definitely at least 2 dudes in 3 days.
Okay. But like one of those dudes, it was sort of like I had a good night and this is your first time. I'll shepherd you into.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, a sexualized adult.
Yeah.
And he asked her to, so it's like, it was consenting, right?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like a possible relationship. The other guy that takes place definitely within that 3-day window, I think she was like super into.
In love with him.
Yeah, like
Yes.
maybe not in love with him, but like maybe this could be a thing, you know, like that kind of into.
I mean, I'll argue that they had a connection that could have eventually become love because
Yes.
that is ultimately who she ends up with, right?
Yeah.
We know because we watched the first one with the good music.
Right. And we do find out sort of why they came apart.
Right. Which we knew from the first one also, by the way.
We did. And, you know,
Yeah.
he had been on the run for about 7 years and he found a place to lay low permanently in Greece.
Right.
So, like, I understand why he stayed there.
Yeah, of course.
You guys get it? That's Pierce Brosnan's character.
Yeah. Because the 9/11.
It's a 9/11. That movie came out in 2008. Let me just explain my joke really quick. So that movie came out in 2008, and that was 7 years after. You know, whatever. You guys got it. You're with me. It's fine.
Jet fuel can't melt Remington steel beams.
Paige.
We're bad people. Anyway, so
I think it's the time part of tragedy that's making it comedy now.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So she's going through the invitations, but we haven't seen Meryl Streep. And the more she starts talking about her, she's like, Mom would have loved to be here.
Man.
And so we're like, oh, okay, so she dead.
I thought like Meryl Streep just said no to this movie because she saw the last one, but she's in it at the end. And I was like, oh, we got sort of deprived of it.
I think it's just scheduling conflicts.
That could be too, but like the whole thing is sort of centered around like her honoring her mother who is dead. So like maybe it was just like, you can only have me for 2 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And they sort of built it around that. I don't know. I mean, this movie doesn't feel overly written or anything. So like,
it feels like there was a loose outline.
yeah, exactly. They're like, we want to hit these songs. And then Meryl Streep, the like weekend before, was like, hey guys, I'm going to extend my trip to Nova Scotia. It wasn't even a great place. And they were like, oh shit, I guess we got to rewrite the movie this weekend. And I would buy it because there's not much story.
There's not much story. Here's what I think happened. I want to say that this was around the time Into the Woods was happening or something else was happening and
Okay.
Meryl Streep was unavailable because of another movie.
Okay.
And so I think they were like, well, let's get Cher instead. However, the writing around Cher's character does not add to the story from a character perspective. It just does give us some amazing performances of ABBA songs, and don't take it out. I love it so much. But from an emotional core of the story, it don't help. What I actually think is really stronger that we do get in this movie is the connection between her and Pierce Brosnan, which is essentially a daughter sheltering her father on the run from the law.
Right.
But also, they are two people who have essentially learned that they are family as adults. And in the intervening years, it sounds like he was very, very happy being married to Meryl Streep's character. And they kind of became this close-knit family. And I do really love that in this movie.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, we basically reveal that it's her and Pierce Brosnan a year after Meryl Streep passed away. They have finished renovating the hotel.
Right.
Which I'm sure is something Meryl Streep started with them. And then we never find out how she passed.
We don't.
I'm assuming something sudden.
Who knows? This movie takes place 10 years after the last one. She might have gotten like sort of a cancer or debilitating disease. And she would have died pretty young still, but you know.
Gatling gun, Klingon batleth, ninja stars. Yeah, any number of things.
Any number of things. They never go into it.
Never go into it. But they're going to throw the grand opening party. And she goes to send the invitations, but throws out her grandmother's invitation. And as she does, she says she never shows up for anything.
Right.
We cut to the past,
Ooh.
where we see Lily James playing Meryl Streep's character Donna at her graduation, where she gets up to give basically the valedictorian speech, but instead she invites her bandmates up to sing a very odd song about kissing teachers.
Yeah, I guess this is like ABBA's answer to Van Halen's Hot for Teacher, or honestly.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that, but I don't know. The whole scene is insane. They're starting the commencement address. Like the lady who's like presiding over the graduation is starting. And Lily James walks in late, sits down, only to then be immediately introduced as the valedictorian to get up again
Right.
and walk up on stage. Why even have her come in late? Why not just have her walk in as they announce her? It's insane to me that they showed that.
They wanted to show her boots.
I know, but you could show that as she's walking down to go as she's been introduced.
You could. You absolutely could.
And listen, you're not wrong. They definitely wanted to show those boots because and maybe not like the staff of this school did, I knew there was a dance number coming because she's
100%.
wearing boots that like Kiss would wear on stage.
They're literally kinky boots. Yeah, like they are the boots.
Yeah, literally.
And at this point, I just said, I was like, this isn't a really well-known ABBA song that I know of, at least not in the ABBA catalog I'm familiar with. I was not familiar with this one.
I truly only know like 5 ABBA songs, and that's it.
I bet you know more than that and just didn't
Sure.
realize it was ABBA.
Of course.
But this isn't even one of the ones that you don't realize is ABBA. This is like, I don't think I've ever heard this song before in my entire life.
No, I was like, am I listening to a Swedish cover of Hot for Teacher? Because it's like along those lines.
But this is also, remember what I was saying about ABBA songs make less and less sense the less famous they are? This is one of them, where it's like all this kind of like weird euphemisms, and you're like, this doesn't connect. What does this mean? Why did they write this? Like, what is happening? But as it's happening, it's this wide, sweeping musical scene of like they're dancing on the stage. Everyone's like running after them to this like dock, and they jump off the dock. This is the production of this movie saying, look, we actually know how to shoot musical numbers, unlike the last one. So buckle the fuck up.
They're like, sit back and relax. We got this on lock. And they do. I mean, this scene is so good. She inspires, her and her bandmates inspire a group of graduates to get up and leave before they graduate.
Yeah.
And jump into a body of water. That's insane to me.
Off a boat called the Chiquitita. Chiquitita, tell me what's wrong.
I just thought it was crazy that like this is where that ended up. Although I should have expected that when she like took off her, I don't know, graduation gi or whatever that is. And it was like a whole like
gown.
Yeah,
graduation gown.
Whatever.
A graduation
I don't know.
gi.
Who knows? Who gives a shit?
Was she graduating karate school?
She might as well be. Who knows, Paige? Did they say what university it is? It might have been the Jean-Claude Van Damme University of not speaking names right. Who knows?
I don't think I'm going to be graduating from anything else in my lifetime necessarily, but if I ever do, I want a gi.
You got to get your hands on a graduation gi. It's just like, it's like an actual gi, but you look like it's Cobra Kai. It's honestly just a Cobra Kai outfit with white trim.
Love it.
And it says, congratulations
Yeah.
on the belt. Like it's embroidered on the belt.
Magna cum loudly.
Magna punch loudly.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the opening dance number is like amazing.
Yeah.
Or song, I should say, is amazing. Even if the music isn't awesome.
Yes.
It's awesome. It's a spectacle.
If this had been Dancing Queen in the last movie, you would have been like, oh my God, this is great. Like, because that's the thing. The last movie did not know how to do what they just did. Great.
Yeah.
So she ends up back at her apartment with her friends Tanya and Rosie, whose names I forgot for most of this movie and had to look up. But they're like, I'm sorry your mom didn't come to graduation. She's like, fuck that. She doesn't care where I am. I'm going to go live my life and go everywhere. And this is the saddest part of this movie, because much like Beauty and the Beast, where she's like, I'm going out to the great wide somewhere, and then walks 10 feet to a castle and never leaves.
That's what she does with Greece.
Yeah. This lady is like, I'm going to go so many places. First France, then Greece. That's it.
Yep.
Like, those are the places.
End of list.
End of list.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she grabs her suitcase. They pack her up. They take her to the airport. She ends up in France. Now, here's where I noticed something they were doing in this movie that I also think is smart. There are instrumentals from the songs you know and remember from the last movie and from ABBA's more famous catalog.
Yeah, a lot of the interstitials are songs you know.
Yeah, you feel like you're still hearing them even though you're not.
Yeah.
We cut to present day where she calls Dominic Cooper in New York because, spoiler, they are still married. Not married. Are they married?
They are married, yeah.
They didn't get married at the end of the last one.
Well, maybe they're not married. I don't know.
They may not be. I don't know.
Who knows? They're about to have a kid, though.
They're about to have a kid.
Which, like, how long had he been in New York?
6 weeks. Because he says in this scene.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
the math works.
So you're saying the math does work, but it's also possible it could be somebody else. We don't see it.
We didn't meet anybody else, but yes.
I'm just saying, are we getting set up for a Mamma Mia, here we go a third?
Three we go.
Here we go again. Not again. Amanda Seyfried's the mom. Anyway.
Dancing 3. This is Mamma Mia
Dancing 3. Threen. Paige, it's got to be Threen.
Threen.
God, we're so dumb. I'm so sorry, listeners. This is so dumb.
This is a later than normal recording after Todd and I have both had jam-packed insane days because we are trying to pack a lot of recordings into a small amount of time so we could take actual vacations. Bear with us and our silliness, please.
It's how we cope.
It's fall, baby. And sweater weather pairs perfectly with savory fall foods. But with your busy schedule, sometimes it's hard to eat the way you'd like to. That's where Factor comes in. Let Factor handle it for you. Their chefs do the shopping and the chopping to bring you fresh, never frozen, fully cooked meals right to your doorstep. All you have to do is heat and eat. All of their meals are dietitian approved, so you know you're getting the nutrition you need along with the fall flavors you crave. And it's fall. You've got tons of things going on outside the kitchen. Jake and I have a million places to be. A pumpkin patch, a graveyard, probably a seance somewhere. Doesn't matter. Keep your plans and turn to Factor. They deliver fresh, nutritious, chef-prepared meals so you don't have to cook. I know you want to stand over a cauldron because it's Halloween, but don't if you don't have to. They're ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So try out Factor meals with our exclusive Romancing the Pod code. Head to factormeals.com/romancingthepod50 and use code romancingthepod50 to get 50% off your first month and 20% off your next month. That's code romancingthepod50 at factormeals.com/romancingthepod50 to get 50% off your first month plus 20% off the next.
Explaining football to the friend who's just there for the nachos? Hard. Tailgating from home like a pro with snacks and drinks everyone will love? An easy win. And with Instacart helping deliver the snack time MVPs to your door, you're ready for the game in as fast as 30 minutes. So you never miss a play or lose your seat on the couch or have to go head-to-head for the last chicken wing. Shop Game Day Faves on Instacart and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 grocery orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Other fees and terms apply.
Anyway, Dominic Cooper, hot as ever, fresh off of Devil's Double. He had, actually probably not, that was probably a long time before this, but great movie. But he has been in New York for 6 weeks learning the hotel business with the movie never tells us. It's unimportant.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. But they've offered him a job permanently. And he's like, I kind of want to do it. Maybe you come with me. And she's like, well, no, I have my mom's hotel here. And he's like, that was your mom's plan. Is it your plan? And she's just like, I don't know, but I can't keep having this fight. Hangs up. Thus ensues one of my favorite ABBA songs of all time.
Yeah.
That is not in the first movie, but is in the play. And so this is one of the ones that they recycled. And I was just like, oh, and then they do it as a duet. And as much as I love Dominic Cooper, not the strongest singer in the bunch. He's okay.
He's fine.
He's passable.
Yeah.
That's why they only have him sing like half of one verse. And I was like, this movie gets it.
Yeah. But what song is it, Paige? You didn't say what song it was.
It's One of Us.
Yes.
One of Us.
Yeah.
Yes. So good.
Yeah.
But she ends up crying and you're like, oh. But she goes to pick up Tanya and Rosie off the ferry because they are coming for the opening, even though Donna is no longer there, which is very sweet. You love to see them back.
Yeah.
And this is where we find out that Harry, Colin Firth's character, is in Tokyo for something. And Bill, who's stellar skateboard, is getting the award for the greatest suite of all time, which is a hilarious reveal later.
I loved that reveal. I mean, we don't see it yet. And we'll talk about it. We'll table it and talk about it then. But I loved it.
Yes.
It's so funny.
But she's also like, is your grandma coming? And she's like, no, I didn't invite her. Plus, she never leaves Vegas. She hasn't left for decades.
Which has got to be a Cher joke, right?
Cher had a Vegas residency for fucking forever.
Right.
But I think it's also just sprinkled in to give us an idea that her mom was also an entertainer.
Yeah.
And maybe prioritized that over Meryl Streep's being there for Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
And that's going to come back later. But this is where we meet Andy Garcia's character, or as I have him in my notes, Tommy Bahama from Barb and Star. But Andy Garcia, who is playing, and I tried to write down the last name, but it means 100 fires. Cinque Fuego? No, that's 50 fires. Anyway, whatever. He is the hotel manager, and he seems to be some sort of deity because he's like, there's a storm on the wind. And you're like, what is his deal? He seems to be both psychic, old and wise, but also young enough to be a hotel manager. It's wild. But both the ladies are immediately like, hubba hubba, which will be extra weird when we find out who he does end up with, because there's a whole generational gap there and no one seems to notice or care.
Oh, I noticed, Paige, but it's Andy Garcia and Cher, so they can do whatever they want. But I noticed.
They can do whatever they want. And honest, Andy Garcia can fucking sing.
Okay, can I just say this? I don't know shit about Andy Garcia. Every time I see him on screen, I love him though.
Sure.
And when I saw him on screen, I was like, ooh, can Andy sing?
Yes, he can.
When he could sing, I was like, oh, awesome.
That's why they let him sing with fucking Cher, because he could do it.
Yeah, right? And then he is playing guitar, and I don't know if he's actually playing in the scene, but it looked convincing. So at least he's acting on a level that's convincing.
Sure.
And I was like, shit, so is Andy Garcia this suave, debonair dude who can charm women with his songs?
Maybe.
Because I don't think anyone could live up to that. If that's Mr. Gonna Steal Your Grams is all I'm saying.
That's steal anybody's girl at that point. But we cut back in time to Donna in France trying to get a room at a hotel. There's no one at the front desk, and someone comes down because they're locked out of their room, and it's our friend from Falling for Figaro and Fleabag.
Yeah.
Who again, the second I saw him, I was like, well, at least we know people are gonna sing in this.
Yeah.
That can actually sing.
Yeah, and he only is in 2 scenes really, and it's really the tag ending in this sequence of scenes.
He does have Colin Firth's neurotic energy.
I was gonna say that.
It is a perfect match. Yeah.
The two of them, I think, are the best young and then old couple. If you put them into their coupling of who played them as young, who played them as older, theirs is perfect.
Theirs is perfect. I do love in the post credits when everyone dances with their younger counterpart. I thought that was very fun.
Well, and because Colin is not dancing at all, and then this guy is jumping around him very sillily, and I loved that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really cute. But also the Pierce Brosnan one and the Stellar Skateboard one's great.
The Pierce Brosnan one is the one that I think has the least resemblance.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's like, I'm locked out of my room, and he's explaining to her in French, and she's like, hey, I don't know what you just said in English. And he's like, oh, sorry, let me try again. And he starts again in French. And he's like, wait, English. What's going on? But we find out he works at a bank, and they go for a walk, and she's kind of talking about all the stuff she wants to do. And she's like, well, I'm leaving tomorrow for Greece because I don't know. I feel like there's something out there for me. My destiny is there.
I mean, she's right.
Yeah.
Because that's what she makes it.
Yeah. And they have kind of an awkward little meet cute of can I hold your hand? They go to a cafe. And at the cafe, he's like, let's spend the night together. Hey, I've never done it. Please.
He's like, let's go over a pros and cons list of us spending the night together.
Yes.
That's how he broaches the subject, which I think is pretty funny, especially with what we know about his character. So
yes,
I liked it. I thought it was cute because he's a little neurotic. He is as a character a little neurotic.
Well, and if we remember from the last movie, which I guess maybe they didn't do in this movie.
They did.
I'm 90% sure his character is gay, yes?
He is. Yeah, no, they did it in this movie. I mean, he's one of the potential fathers.
Right.
So they have to have sex.
No, I know. I understand. But I felt later in the movie, they didn't play it out at all. Did they?
Oh, they totally did. I mean, they didn't play it out on the level of he ends up with a guy at the end of it.
He ended up with a guy at the end of the last one.
Well, yeah, but they're not still together.
No, I know, but there's no, I don't know. He's the only person that doesn't have somebody at the end, which is kind of a bummer.
He has a little flirty meet cute with the guy at the dock who's overly interested in everyone's haircut.
Oh, that's right.
They have a moment.
I loved him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I kind of think Colin Firth goes back and is like, hey man, what's up? You want to meet up?
That's right. Who also played the jailer in The Mummy. Amazing. It is tough to basically deliver the same joke 4 to 5 different times and have it get a laugh every time.
He nails it though.
That guy fucking nails it.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's because he plays it so straight. He plays it so earnestly.
Yes, so straight.
He's like, I'm just looking out for you. You look better with short hair.
You look better with short hair.
It's so earnest. I love it. Anyway, let's move on though. Yeah, but it's great.
Anyway, but he's like, let's spend the night together. As they're talking in the restaurant, on the piano is Bjorn of ABBA fame.
No shit.
Yes, playing the piano for Our Last Summer.
Yeah.
Which is a song that is from the play. And I was like, oh, that is the perfect song for something like this, because it's basically people who were back in the day, we banged it out once and now we've grown apart. I'm like, okay, cool. That's not the song they play. They put Waterloo in here.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? No, because I love that song, but I'm like, this doesn't really fit here. This is just, but it's also not in the play. So it was one of the ones that they could use, I guess.
And also they have this guy who is truly a great singer, great performer.
Yeah, he can at least sing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he is like running around this restaurant where everyone's dressed like Napoleon because it's a French restaurant
Right.
that's on theme, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
it's just, and she's wearing like a Napoleonic type hat.
And they pass it back and forth a couple times.
Yeah, he's wearing it by the end of it. It's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, so like thematically, I'm not sure the lyrics of the song match up super great, but I love it,
Yes.
and it's a great set piece.
It is a good set piece. It's also shot well. This is one of
Yeah.
the first times we get really cool overhead shots during dance scenes.
Yeah.
Very well done. But it's one of those where you're like, they really shoehorned this one in, I think. But I guess I'm enjoying the dances.
But thank God they did. It's Waterloo, Paige. It's the one that
Yeah.
won Eurovision.
I know. Like, it is, if you're going to have one, it's amazing that Waterloo's not in the first one.
I know. But I mean, that's how many bangers ABBA wrote.
Well, if I remember correctly from the play, I think in the first one, it is one of the songs that Donna and the Dynamos play. Like, because during the play, there's like a section where you get like a mini concert from them, and I think they probably did Waterloo then.
I mean, that is probably their most famous song, so that would make sense.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's here.
Yeah.
We cut to modern day where she is giving the bandmates, Tanya and Rosie, kind of a tour, and Pierce Brosnan, and they're like, your mom would have wanted this. We're excited to be here for her. We wouldn't have missed it for the world. I'm bummed that Bill and Harry can't make it, but like, we'll all be here and it will be great. And this is where we find out that the celebration is happening in like 2 days. Meanwhile, Pierce Brosnan kind of goes off by himself, and this is where he looks at the photos that we will find out he took
Yeah.
of young Meryl Streep, and just kind of sings to himself. And this crushed me.
I know.
This was so incredibly sad.
I know. I mean, that is his wife. Like, they did get married. Like,
Yes.
I realize that that's his second wife or whatever, but someone who's about to have their second wife, I would be devastated
Yes.
if I lost Natalie, you know?
I mean, extra devastating if you know about Pierce Brosnan's actual, like, marital history.
Fuck, I forgot about that.
So if you don't know, Pierce Brosnan's
Ugh.
first wife, I believe, passed away from cancer or something similar. And it was something that affected like multiple women in his family. And then he remarried, and he and his second wife have been together for like 30 years, like a crazy long amount of time.
Yeah.
And he is like, she is his lady. And he is hardcore about it and will like defend her against people online and shit. It makes me cry a lot. Happy tears.
He actually is one of the guys that like seems like a really decent guy. By the way, I did look it up. She died from ovarian cancer in 1991.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very sad.
I mean, aside from the 9/11 thing, yeah, he seems like a cool guy.
yeah, I mean, people make mistakes. You know, sometimes you show up and you're a great husband, and sometimes 9/11 is going to happen and you set up to murder your son with it.
Right. Anyway, we cut to the dock in the past where she is running to try and catch the ferry over to the island. And this is where she gets stopped by the ticket taker guy who's like, you grew your hair. It's longer now than the picture on her passport. And he's like,
Yeah.
you should really do it shorter. You should keep it shorter. And she's like, that's great. I don't care. I just need to catch the ferry. And he's like, fine. But she misses the ferry anyway.
Yeah.
But this is where she runs into Bill, who has a boat. Now, here is my question, Todd.
Please.
Do you think she and Bill have sex on the boat this day?
Yes.
I thought so too, because of the implication.
Yeah.
We don't see it on screen, though.
We don't.
We don't see it until the next time. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't see it on screen. I think they gushed up immediately, but that's like literally just because I saw the first movie and I know it's like a little ambiguous as to who the dad is. So like I figured it was like
Right.
really sort of rapid fire succession. So like,
Yes.
whatever. She's having one crazy cycle.
Yeah. Crazy, right? So they get out on the open water and they see a man in a boat, and he is trying to get to the mainland to stop a wedding.
I loved this. I loved this side quest. It was my favorite.
This side quest is so nuts, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but I love it. I want their movie.
It comes back at the end.
And then when it comes back, I loved it because essentially it's his name is Alexio, and they like bring him on their boat, get him close to where the wedding has happened, and he's like, Apollonia! And it's just like dives in after her.
He walks off the boat. And I say that because this man cannot swim.
No.
And he walks into the water and then starts to drown.
Starts to drown.
And she sees him.
Apollonia in her wedding dress is just like, Alexio! And just like she goes into the water and then other people are diving in after. Neither of them can swim. So like Bill has to dive in after.
I thought Apollonia, I thought she could swim. She was just in a goddamn wedding dress. Like, that's probably very difficult to swim in. Alexio cannot swim.
I'm going to say this one thing about Apollonia that's not going to make sense to you, but some listeners are going to go insane. As far as Apollonia's swimming techniques, these are not the waters of Lake Minnetonka, okay? That is a Purple Rain joke. It is for the people who have seen Purple Rain, and someday I will make you watch it.
I honestly want to watch. I love Prince. I just haven't got around to it, which I know is insane because, like, whatever. But
what if we just pick that for the last movie of the month?
What is a destination wedding if not a Prince concert? Am I right?
If not a Prince. And the lead in Purple Rain is named Apollonia after the Apollonia 6.
What's her first name?
Apollonia.
Oh, I thought Apollonia had a first name.
She don't. And they don't do that song in the movie because it came after.
I do love the way that this comes back at the end.
Yes.
I kind of wished he had walked off the boat again and like done the like he's drowning again.
Me too. That would have been so funny.
Just because it like the whole spectacle of it all is hilarious.
But no, I'm glad we got the dance at the end though.
Me too, yeah. Because he's the guy leading the dance number on the boats.
He is. And on one of the other boats, you have Bill and Harry doing the Titanic, I'm the
Yes.
queen of the world, which is fucking incredible.
God, I love this.
It's so good. Anyway, so they help these people. But then we cut to the present day and Andy Garcia is like, a storm is coming. And I was like, is he a wizard? I don't know what's happening. But we cut back to the past after that like one scene. And young Bill is like, hey, I've got a boat race. It's in like 3 weeks, but I'll be back right after.
Yeah.
So now we have a ticking time clock.
Don't fuck nobody because like it'll get weird. I'm gonna have to really like 2 other dudes that are also sleeping with you this month for the rest of my life.
I do like that they become weird friends after. That's cool. That's normalize that.
They become fathers. Like, I love that, honestly. I think it's great. I don't give a shit that I don't know who gushed that resulted in the side freed. Like, I don't care.
Who gushed that resulted in the push? I don't know.
Nobody knows, baby, but I don't even care because I want her to have all 3 of those dudes in her life.
Yeah, they're great.
Think of the inheritance page.
Think of that. Similarly, he's like, a storm is coming, and he sails off.
Yeah.
A storm does come. It is raining. And this is where we cut back to modern day, because we cut back and forth all the time. And they're like, so you and Sam, Pierce Brosnan's character, did all of this. And she's like, yeah, but Sky helped and others. And like, she kind of confesses that she feels weird about Sky, even though she's showing them the amazing spa that can only serve 2 people at a time at this hotel. I still want a massage. It sounds great.
Have you never had a massage, babe?
Oh, no, I do. I just want one now.
Oh, I was like, you said that like you were like, I've heard of this mythical massage. I hope I get to experience one someday.
Oh, no. I have had many massages.
I literally got massaged with a car buffer this morning, Paige.
How shiny are you?
You should see my back.
I'm glad I don't.
You know what's funny? Like, that's not even a bit. I did it to Natalie too. I was like buffing her out.
All right.
We literally have like a car buffer. It works great.
With the like the soft thing on it.
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen people do that.
Guys, buff out your backs, baby.
Buff out your back. Anyway, we cut back and forth, past to present, because there's a storm happening in both storylines.
Yeah.
And in the past, she just shows up at this random farmhouse, is like, I don't know who lives here, but I'm going to break a bunch of it in this song.
I don't know who lives here, but I do now, and this horse might be mine.
Yeah.
Like, it's such an insane scene.
Me got a horse now.
It is like Squatters' Rights, the musical.
Yes. But so the horse accidentally kicks a load-bearing beam and kind of gets trapped behind some debris. And she's like, oh, don't worry, I'll go find help, horse friend. And so she goes out, she runs into Sam, and she's like, can you help me with this horse? They help the horse out. And they end up kind of talking because of it. And he's like, well, where do you live? He's like, a shack on a hill. She's like, well, I'm kind of just living here.
Me too. I kind of live in a shack on the hill as well.
Yeah. And we find out that he is traveling, but he's only there for another week. And that she's like, I think I'm going to stay here. I like this place. After being there for 10 seconds.
Well, she's been there 10 seconds and has a house.
Yeah.
She's pretty much a boomer's like life.
It's pretty great. But she's also like, yeah, because like my mom doesn't care where I am. And she's always on tour. And he's like, oh, and she's like, yeah, sweet as sugarcane. And we're like, oh, all right. We cut to, they sit down in a local restaurant. I am fascinated by this local restaurant ecosystem.
Okay.
Because it is the son of the owner who is playing what I have in my notes as the Dan Stevens role.
It is the Dan Stevens role, yes.
He's going full boat at Kisses of Fire, which must also be an ABBA song that I am unfamiliar with.
Same, but the dude performed it.
He did indeed. But we cut to modern day where they're like, I'm stressed. I feel like I'm letting my mom down. And they're like, you're not. That's half the scenes in the modern day. It was just her being like, I'm letting my mom down. Should I sing? No.
And like general party setup. Like that's the whole Amanda Seyfried storyline is, should I fulfill my mom's dream or should I pursue my own?
We don't know what her own dream is at all either. She never voices one.
So spoiler alert, it definitely is just do what your mom wanted you to do. And then that's where the movie ends, at least. Like her storyline doesn't matter at all. But like it's the Donna storyline that's really pushing the movie.
Todd, I will remind you that the bulk of the first movie is them just planning a wedding and singing as they set up chairs.
I know, it's great. Yeah.
Anyway, we find out back in the past, because she's like, I love this place. I want to stay here. I want to sing at this bar. And the owner of the bar is just like, the only reason he gets to sing here is because he bought the bar because no one else will listen to his shit band. And she's like, oh, they're great. And she's like, your ears are cotton.
She does then get up and perform, though. And she performs well enough that they hire her on the spot.
Yeah. And she can sing there kind of whenever she wants.
So she's been there 10 minutes and she's got a house and a job and a boyfriend.
Yes.
She is a boomer, like literally and figuratively in this movie.
Yes. And she and her newfound boyfriend get it in for the night. And at this point, I was like, wasn't he like married or engaged? And that was why they broke up, trying to remember from the last movie. And yes, we will find out momentarily. But first, the next day, he takes her out to a little island and he's like, yeah, we'll have a picnic or whatever. She's like, by the way, I don't normally do this. I'm not a girl who has sex on the first date except for thrice this week.
Yeah, except for the past 4 days.
I was like, hey girl, you just don't bring it up. It's not important.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's like, I know we just met and all, but I want to stay here and I think you should too. And he's like, it's not that simple. I have a life another place, but like, I don't know. We'll just figure things out for now. Let's just, we'll just be together. And this is where he takes that picture of her.
Yeah. In the back of the sort of canoe or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And I think he ends up taking, I think, like 2 more throughout their relationship. And one of them, I think, is supposed to be Meryl Streep after the events of the 2008 movie.
Right.
Because the one in the middle is like older Meryl Streep.
Right.
Which I thought was like really sweet. And it built like that. This was something they did early in their relationship. And they still continued to do it when they got back together. And I was like, oh, that's actually like a really subtle, soft way to show that they actually really like, they as a couple had traditions and things like that.
Right.
That's cool.
It's very cool.
Anyway, they've done it more than 2 times. So it's a tradition, I guess.
Yeah, now it's a tradition. But this is where... So she wakes up next to him. It's unclear how long it's been, if he's been there longer than the week he was supposed to be there or whatever.
Yeah.
But we cut back to present day where we find out that the storm has wiped it out and no one's going to be able to come to the party. Wah.
I know.
The band can't get here. Spoiler, your mom's band is probably going to have to play, or grandma. We'll get to it.
And it'll end up being all 3, truly.
All 3. Back to the past. And she wakes up next to Sam. And this is where she sings the name of the game, which is from the play that didn't make it into the last movie. So again, it's one of those ones where you're like, I kind of recognize this, so that's cool. And she goes and picks a bunch of oranges, and then a goat is watching her in a very Black Phillip way. And I can't explain this other than the fact that they shoot the goat as if maybe Sam could turn into a goat, and this is where she was going to find out about it.
Paige, it concerns me that you think the goat might be the 4th father. Like, I don't know what you saw, but like, listen, I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because the movie doesn't say. But there is something between them. Like the goat looks at her and she's like, you want to go, goat? And then the goat's like, yeah, let's fuck around and find out. And so she runs away. But,
Yeah. Wouldst thou like to live abolitiously? Like, yeah, what's going to happen?
Paige, abolitiously.
Anyway, she goes back inside. She finds his journal and a picture of his fiance and is like, oh my God, he's been engaged this whole time. They fight. He leaves. She stays in this house that had a broken staircase that is miraculously unbroken now. And at this point, I was like, so is she just squatting?
I mean, yes.
Anyway.
We find out she is.
Yeah.
The person who owns that land does eventually like sort of say she can stay there, but at this point she's squatting.
Right. And we break into Knowing Me, Knowing You, which is also from the play that didn't make it into the first movie, so they're using it here.
Yeah.
And we end this shot with a hand on her belly because she's already pregnant it, and she goes to hug the horse because help me, horse friend.
Can I point this out? When she goes to hug the horse,
Yeah.
she doesn't mean to, but she pokes it in the eye, and you can see the horse be like, God damn it, my eye!
Yeah. The horse is like, fuck. Yeah.
I felt bad for both of them because I'm sure she felt terrible, but like,
Oh, yeah.
why use that take?
I don't know.
Probably because the horse went back to their trailer and be like, it's fucking Bush League! I get
Yes.
pushed in the eye? Are you serious? I'm walking off.
Where's my TiVo?
Cluck, clap, cluck, clap, bop, bop, cluck, clap. Well, it would be clop, clop because that's the way it would sound if it was a horse doing the TiVo sound.
Because it's a hoof.
Guys, it's a meta joke and no one's going to get those. I apologize.
That's fine. But so she's standing with her hand on her belly because the movie's going to be like Pierce Brosnan really was the father, even though it's a mixed gush. Anyway, we cut to Tokyo, modern day. Godzilla rises from the deep.
Oh my God.
Angered by the radiation poisoning from Bikini Atoll.
This would have been a great reveal. But instead of that, it's just a sleeping Colin Firth in a, what I'm assuming, very high level, like
Yes.
acquisition deal, very late stage, because they're 14 hours into contract negotiations.
Yes.
And he's just like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm out. Which is insane. I love it.
He stands up, he gets himself some coffee, and then he just like leans his head back and screams radiation into the sky. And he's like, you know what? Family is the most important, and fuck this deal. I'ma go to the party.
He actually says, I'll agree to whatever. Just sign the contract. Sign. I'm out. See ya, bye.
Meanwhile,
Right.
we cut to the bestest Swede in the World Awards, where they announce Bill, who gets up from a table with a whole family at it. And if you'll remember from the last movie, Bill don't have no family, so that was confusing. But also, it seems like Stellar Skateboard in a fat suit.
I had to ask myself, when did Dune come out? And did he just get fat for Dune? Because I was like, hang on.
No, that was prosthetics.
No, it was. And it was prosthetics in Dune, too.
Yeah.
It's prosthetics in both. I mean, this reveal was one of my favorite in the movies because it cuts from this guy accepting the award that looks vaguely like Stellar Skateboard.
Right.
And thanking his mom for showing up and then thanking his wife and kids for being there. And you're like, wait, Stellar Skateboard don't fuck like that.
Right.
Like he fucks, but like not to stay. Right.
Yeah.
And then we get his mom, who was just thanked by the person at the stage, calling Stellar Skateboard, who's driving away. And she's like, I can't believe you had your twin brother stand in and accept this award for you. And you're like, oh my God, okay, that makes sense. That's great.
Okay. And he's like, yeah, because I've got to go to the party for Donna's memory. And
Yes.
he's like, wait, just tell him not to tell the goat story. We cut back and he's like, there's a very amusing story about a goat. And you're like, ah.
It's great.
Anyway, we cut to the past where her friends get there on the island and are like, girl, this is kind of run down. Like, what? And she's like, also, the architect lied to me. Wah. And we have a little bit of a weird, I guess it's a little more later, but we get the backstory for Rosie and Bill in a way that's not super helpful. We'll get to it in just a bit.
I think it's to set up that they're getting together at the end of this movie.
Even though we kind of did it at the end of the last one, I guess.
I know, right? I'm not sure we really needed it. Although I think it's because it had to explain why they're not together now.
Together,
because it does
yeah.
imply that they did date for a while and it just didn't work out because Stellar Skateboard, as we know, is an international boy of fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
he'd be crushing that puss.
yeah. So like she was like, I can't do this with you. And later in the movie they do sort of like very quickly make amends, but whatever, you know.
Yeah, over what? Never explained.
It actually, the like what caused them to come apart is never explained.
No.
You're right.
But she welcomes her friends. They visit the restaurant. They sing Mamma Mia. And it's actually really great to hear it again and to have them sing it. They draw a crowd and who should show up but Bill, young Bill, who's like, hey, I got kind of worried after the storm and everything, so I came back what's up? And she's like, oh my God, great, let's go on a boat. And Rosie is like, oh, I thought he was really cute. And she was kind of sad about the other guy, and maybe the other guy is going to work out. I'm kind of bummed that she gets both guys. I kind of hey, as the friend that was often not picked, I understand that one.
I don't know, man. Like, Donna, like, put in the groundwork a week ago or 3 weeks ago with this guy when she had sex with him.
Yeah. And they just don't know that.
Yeah, but she just doesn't know that. She actually does, like, quickly fall for other people too, we come to find. So like,
yeah.
But I mean, I definitely get the vibe that like nobody knew that was a claimed person, you know, that like that Donna had already gushed with that dude. So she was like, hey, maybe I'm into that guy. Maybe that's a possibility before she knew the lay of the land. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And we don't know because it didn't happen on screen, and it's about to happen on screen where we actually do see them together out on the ocean. And then he kind of brings her back. But we cut to the present, and they're trying to call Sky. They can't get a hold of him. I was like, clearly he's en route. Everyone is trying to end up here for the last act of the movie. Great. And they sing a song that, here's what's funny. I think they're about 10 years early because it's an ABBA song that was not it's not huge on the hits album that like everyone knows, but boy, did it blow the fuck up on TikTok like this year. So it was wild to see it. They're like, sometimes I sit and think about all the good times and I have to and I was like, oh, I know this one. All right, cool. But mainly, this just made me want to make olive oil cake.
That's fair. But Paige, they weren't 10 years early on this because 10 years after this movie would be 2028.
Oh, shit. I forgot that this came out that late. So they were like 5 to 7 years early.
Yeah, but it is a good song. I like that one too.
It is a good song. But we cut to Bill and Harry are trying to make the ferry, and look who it is. It's the same guy. And I just love that he's like, time has been most cruel to you.
Yeah.
Like, your face is collapsed. But then he looks at Bill and is like, age becomes you like wine and cheese. I was like, okay, baby. And then they like give each other a look.
Well, they have a little moment together. They have they have a meet cute. Like, yeah, I fully expect Colin Firth to come back and at least see if there's a smush to be smished.
And just be like, I liked your hair shorter. And for the guy to be like, I've been bald this whole time.
And he's like, I wasn't talking about that hair.
I wasn't talking about that hair. Meanwhile, we cut to the past. While Bill and Donna are having their thing, we follow Tanya and Rosie because Rosie is like, this is a bummer. I'm just going to eat as much baklava and cake as I can. And I was like, hell yeah, bish. We see Bill find a pearl for Donna or whatever, but who should show up back on the island but Sam? And the person who he encounters, unfortunately, first is the lady that owns the restaurant. She's like, she left on a boat with some European dude because you fucking lied to her and left, and she was super sad about it, and it's karma, pronounced ha. And he's like, I did deserve that.
Yeah.
And so he then goes back and marries the girl that he was trying to break an engagement with, which sounds like a terrible idea, but we know that that's what happened because of the last movie. Anyway, the rest of the girls go back to eating olive oil cake. And again, I'm baking a lot tonight. I might make some olive oil cake in addition to the other things I'm making. It sounds delicious.
Is that a cake made out of Popeye's girlfriend? Like, I don't know what olive oil cake is.
It is a cake where your main fat within the cake is olive oil.
I do love olive oil. I would probably really enjoy that, Paige. All I'm saying is, can you mail me some?
No, it's probably not going to keep. But like, it usually is paired with either lemon or orange flavors.
Oh, I bet that's so good. I bet it's so good.
The kind that I have had in my Italian baking tradition is orange or lemon with olive oil. So it's not particularly sweet. It's kind of like a pound cake.
Yeah.
But with olive oil as your base.
Okay.
Anyway, so he goes back on the ferry. We kind of know what happens in the intervening years. Cool. We know that she gushes with Bill. Great.
Right.
Narrowing down the dad race. We cut to Bill and Harry trying to figure out who can take them to the island because the ferries aren't running and they have already missed one and they can't get there because of the storm. And who should be in the restaurant but Alexio? Do you remember me? You helped me with my Apollonia and we've been together this whole time. And I was like, fuck yes.
I love it.
Oh my God, yes. And he's like, these are difficult days for us fishermen with our boats idle that could take people to plot points and islands within this movie.
Hang on. He's a fisherman that can't swim?
You know what? Don't show up to his job and tell him how to do it, okay?
You know what? That's fair. I apologize. But maybe for your own safety at work,
Sure.
learn to swim.
Sure.
It's called OSHA. It's so close to ocean.
I know.
Like, you should abide by the rules or whatever. Like, learn to swim.
Agreed. But they invite them all to the party because a bunch of the other people that were going to come to the party now can't come, but they've got all the food and everything. So they're like,
Yeah.
if you get us to the island, come to this fucking party. And they're like, all right.
It's more or less like, hey, if you'll take us there, we've got a bunch of alcohol, a bunch of food, it'll be a party.
Yeah.
So all the fishermen are like, hell yeah, let's do it. And they're like, cool, bring your wives and family. And they go from being like, yeah,
Yay!
to like,
oh. Don't you talk about Apollonia like that.
It's so funny to me, but like, it's terrible. Like, you should want to hang out with your wife and family. Come on.
You should. Anyway, they're all making their way to the boats. They're going to make it. And who else happens to be in the restaurant but Sky? Because Sky has made it and he's now back. Great. They all show up on their way to the island. They like see them from afar and it's a whole bunch of boats. Bill and Harry are doing the Titanic. Everyone's dancing. It's shot amazing.
It is.
This is how it should have been shot in the last movie. And they all dance down to the dock. They meet them at the dock and it's a fucking blast.
I love this because the song starts and they are like through binoculars seeing them off in the distance on the boats.
Yes.
They're still easily 30 minutes away. And by the beginning of the second verse, the people who were at the hotel have walked to the dock. The people who were 30 minutes on the way on the boat are pulling up in the boats and getting onto the dock. And now we're all dancing together. And it's ridiculous. And I love it.
Yes, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't write down what song this was, but this was one of the big ones. This is like Dancing Queen or something like that, right?
Yeah, I looked it up. It is Dancing Queen. I was pretty sure it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. The whole number's impressive.
It makes up for how badly they shot Dancing Queen in the last one.
Yeah.
So it's great.
It is great.
They all arrive. The party's in full swing. Amazing. Everyone is here. We cut to the past where we will find out that she has discovered she's pregnant. She doesn't know which dude it is. It doesn't matter. She's going to stay on the island. It's going to be just her. And the lady who has the bar is like, you can stay in that farmhouse. Don't worry about it. Like, I got you. You're supposed to be here.
Yeah.
It's all good.
And it's truly like, we've seen this lady. She's been very sweet in the past, and we're sort of expecting sweetness from her. And she says, I can tell your heart because you're good to animals like you were good to my horse, revealing that that's her place. That's her horse, right?
Yes.
And so she's like, you're welcome to stay there. Like, please, so she now has a place to stay. And she, of course, knows she's pregnant because she's not drinking. And then she runs to the bathroom to throw up. And then it cuts. I loved this. I thought it was such a great reveal. It cuts from Donna throwing up to Amanda Seyfried just finishing throwing up. And she's like, I guess we know what that means.
Right.
She literally says that.
I mean, we should probably test it first because it could also be food poisoning. But
yes, lady, you left food out on the open patio all day and then ate.
Yeah.
It could easily not be you're pregnant. Like,
right.
Maybe being pregnant does feel like food poisoning. I don't know.
Early stages, indistinguishable.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, if you're a lady who is perhaps had unprotected sex and you get like just a stomach bug, are you always like, oh God, I'm pregnant?
No, it's a lot of things all at once, right?
Okay.
And some people don't really get that sick. It just depends on the person. So like you could be 2 or more months pregnant and not really be that sick. Or you could be like, a month and a half coming up on 2 and you're like, I don't feel so good.
Yeah.
And it's more that you would have been sick for a longer period of time. Like it would have been kind of consistent at certain times of the day and whatever. And you would have also potentially missed your period.
Yeah, I assume that's why they established the 6 weeks when she's talking to her husband or Sky.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the movie, because then like, okay, well, she's probably definitely missed a period and she's throwing up. So boom, I might assume that too. Who knows?
I would also 100% buy that she would have missed a period out of stress and hadn't even thought about it.
Sure, but like she's definitely missed, right? Like you wouldn't have that thought without missing, right?
Yes. Let me put it to you this way. If I had my period at the regular times that I expect to have it, and I happen to also get sick, I would not assume I was pregnant.
That's all I was trying to get to. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would say that she is probably sick and is like, oh, hey, wait a second. I should check my app.
That's why I think it's the 6 week thing is supposed to indicate it.
Still test.
Yeah, obviously still test. But when she sits back, she's like, well, I guess we know what that means. Like she's sure she's pregnant.
Yeah.
So like she has to have also missed, I guess. But whatever. It's like this movie is a fever dream. Like none of it makes sense. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But she goes to tell Sky and she's like, we got to wait 12 weeks to get the scan before we tell anybody. I was like, that's right. That's correct. but who should show up? Helicopters. And I was like, oh, right, grandma. And that's when I remembered that the big thing that happened newsworthy-wise with this movie is that they had gotten Cher to be in it. And I was like, oh my God.
I know.
The Act 3 is just Cher. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
But while we're waiting for the helicopter to get here, Bill and Rosie have their moment. And it's this whole like, did he leave her? Did he not? It's not really explained. They kind of dance. They bond over both crying over Donna, and I was like, this is kind of weird.
It's sort of sweet, though. Like, I mean...
It's sweet.
It's two friends who did once be in love, perhaps, reminiscing and missing a friend that passed away. Like, that's a sweet sentiment.
Sure, except when you remember that one of those friends gushed in that friend at least once.
Paige, I have dated two sisters. Like, who amongst us have not made terrible decisions throughout their life?
I'm just saying, if I was her, I'd be like, is he crying because he misses Donna? Or crying, like, in that way? And I'm the second choice? Or, like, that's where my brains would be at.
Paige, I think everyone who's watching the scene knows that the only reason Stellar Skateboard is crying is because she just told him that they're not getting back together, and he's attempting to emotionally manipulate her into sleeping with him, and I think it works.
I think he's got 2 out of the 3, and he should go for the hat trick.
I honestly think he could because I think it's Tanya. Tanya's like really into dudes.
Oh, yeah.
Like the only thing she's into more is wine.
I mean, don't you love her?
She's got real Samantha energy is all I'm saying.
She really does.
Yeah.
Tanya, if you've changed, I'll tell you. Sorry, I have watched the Muriel's wedding cut of Waterloo many times. And that includes the like, hey, Tanya, come have a drink with us. Anyway.
Another great movie that features ABBA.
Yes.
As does this movie. And spoiler alert, next week's movie. We'll talk about it.
Next week movie, also some ABBA.
Yep.
Not as much ABBA, but still.
No. But a lot more fun.
A lot more fun. Cher is here and she's grandma. She's about to be a great grandma because spoiler, everyone told everyone and now everyone knows about the baby. But she gets up. She's like, I'm going to sing with my mom's band. And it's a song that we don't really know as well, but we get the flashbacks of her mom giving birth to her in that house. She survives a terrifying home birth.
Yeah. With the help of the lady who like let her stay in that house.
Yeah.
It's really sweet. Like I would love to know a little bit more about the relationship she forms on the island and like raising Amanda Seyfried's character, like how she figured it out. Like back at that time, could you live on a remote Greek island with only singing as your like job?
I'm going to assume she has no rent.
I assume that as well because she's more or less squatting with permission, but
right. I think she ends up working at that bar.
Yes.
And we do know that it is a tourist island from the first movie.
Oh,
it's just that it's like a day thing where people come for the day and then they leave. So I would imagine that there's a little bit of it takes a village and kind of the whole island helped raise Amanda Seyfried. That's how I've always pictured this.
Not that we use ABBA songs, but that would be a fun little premise for a movie, you know, like how did that actually happen? But whatever. I mean,
yeah. Anyway, they finish their song. It's very sweet. It makes you cry. And then she's like, I'd just like to thank everyone who's here, including our hotel manager. And she points out Andy Garcia. And this is when Cher is like, Fernando! And he's like, Ruby! And I was like, oh, fuck yes. Fuck yes. And we find out that they had some sort of illicit affair in 1959 in Mexico and Cher still fucking got it. And she sings, like, I know that you think that there's not a better version of Fernando than the ABBA one. And Cher will make you question it because you're just like, is she fucking crushing this? She is.
I did not question it. I know hers is better.
It's so good.
It's so
you're just
good.
like,
it's so good.
ugh. And then they do fireworks and they're dancing and I'm like, fuck, the rest of this movie is hot trash and I don't care because it gave me this.
Yeah, they're on a movie set that looks like a set that's the quality of like a set I would see at T-Pack.
It's the Cliffs of Insanity.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's like where they sword fight from Cliffs of Insanity. It's that level of a set. It's great. I love it. And that's pretty much where we are the rest of the movie. I do need to point this out because this movie has one of the most blatant instances of plagiarism I've ever seen in a movie. And it is when they're questioning, how did Cher find out this was going on?
Right.
Because we did not see anyone reach out to her. In fact, we see people not reach out to her.
Sky did off screen. Yeah.
Right. But the whole like Sky says, I told you you're the only person whatever. And then it goes down the line of fathers. And he's like, well, I only told Stellar Skateboard
Yes.
because, whatever. And then he's like, I only told Henry because he's my best friend. And then Henry goes, I told many people. That is a direct ripoff of a Sports Night episode where Jeremy, the character, ends up saying, I told many people in the exact same circumstance. And it is 3 people handing it off to him just like it is in this. It's almost word for word the same. The only thing different is the character names. It is almost a blatant ripoff. And here's how I feel about that. Loved it.
It was hilarious.
I wonder if Aaron Sorkin sued them. Like, it's a funny bit. I love it. Maybe it's an homage, but I loved Sports Night and it got canceled after 2 seasons. Like, Sports Night was like what made me like fall in love with like TV writing. Because I was like a kid when that show came out.
Yeah, I've never seen a single episode or know anything about it.
Paige, it's Aaron Sorkin before The West Wing.
Okay.
And it's more comedy than drama. I think it's why I like it more.
Okay.
And it's like lower stakes. It's sports. It's not politics.
I'm guessing it takes place at like an ESPN news thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is what he tried to do at Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, but for sports.
Yeah.
But it works because it's like a funny situation comedy.
Got it.
They're not trying to make points like they were with The West Wing, which I don't mind The West Wing, but I find it a little like, I get it. Okay. Shibboleth or whatever. But Sports Night was just more funny.
All right.
Anyway, they rip it off in this movie, but I loved it. I literally rewound it, took a video of it, and sent it to my brother because we still quote that, having watched that as kids together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's wild.
It is crazy.
Yeah. What's crazier is the very next scene where they're each claiming that they are responsible for a certain body part of their grandchild. Because we fast forward like 9-10 months or whatever, and she's got the baby and they're going to baptize it. And the fact that they're all like, no, it's my ears and my feet. And I'm like, again, we didn't mix the gush. Like, it's one of the 3 of you.
Paige, I don't know that that's accurate. I mean, perhaps the gush did mish up. Who knows?
Well, it's only one sperm that gets through.
Paige, are you going to believe what they tell you? Or are you going to experience it for yourself like Donna did?
I'm going to mostly believe science.
Somebody call 23andMe.
Somebody call 23andMe. Regardless, Cher and Andy Garcia are now together. And he's like, don't worry, Tanya, because Tanya doesn't have anybody. He's like, don't worry, meet my brother, Don Rafael Cienfuegos, who is absolutely the Dos Equis most interesting man in the world.
Wait, is it him? Like, really?
Yes, I looked it up.
Hell yes.
I
Yes.
was losing my mind.
I did think he looked familiar, but I could not place it. That is so funny.
Yeah.
Holy
yes,
shit.
it is him. Then the Babby baptism happens and she's walking down the aisle and we get like the past and the present of like when her mom did it for her, she's doing it for her baby, and who should appear at the end but Meryl Streep, and they sing together a song that we don't really super recognize, which gave me time to think about the fact that Meryl Streep and Cher are far apart in age, but not crazy far apart in age, unless I have no idea how old people are. Don't worry, I'll get to it in fun facts. And that would be the end of the movie, except that it's a Mamma Mia movie, so we always end with a musical number, and it's fucking Cher singing fucking Super Trooper, and take my fucking money. Oh my God, it's great.
And just like the last movie, like all of the cast is there, whether they're in the past or present. Like the guys are wearing the jumpsuits again, and so are the younger counterparts.
Yeah, with their young counterparts.
It really is just like wasn't this a fun stage show? Let's all do one final dance together while the audience stands and claps for us.
Yes.
Like that is the vibe of the credits. And honestly, the whole thing feels like a stage show.
Yes.
So I like that. I think it's great, but it's super fucking campy.
Very, very.
And that's the movie. So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what'd you think about Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again?
It's not good.
Right.
Here's what I will say. I kind of wish the people who made this movie made the last movie.
Oh, the first one? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I look at it and I'm like, with having shot the actual musical scenes better, being a little more careful about who was singing what based on their actual abilities, I think the first one would be way better. And this one would still be weird because it's not based on a play and it's a whole bunch of stuff. But like, I don't know. I'm torn because by the end of it, I'm fist pumping to Cher, but like, it's not a good movie.
Paige, I would barely call this a movie. Like,
It is barely a movie. It is like a PowerPoint presentation that has great graphics.
yeah, like there's not a whole lot of story. I mean, if you, we are way through the plot and we've only been recording for an hour and 36 minutes, which is way ahead of schedule normally. You know, like there's just not much to this movie. I don't think we missed talking about anything.
Yeah.
We added conspiracy theories about both Brosnan and a hereditary subplot. Like we're adding stuff to this movie and we're still coming in under time because there's not much to it. It's mainly, let's just watch very famous people and then people playing their young counterparts, dance and sing ABBA songs while I eat popcorn and Reese's. And like, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And it was. But I wouldn't call this necessary. Yes, it's a movie, sure. I'm not looking for this to be like Shawshank Redemption. You know, I don't need this to make points. I just want to hear the songs, and I did, and I was here for it.
Yes.
But Paige, I'll say this: like, if you don't like musicals, you will fully hate this.
Oh, 100%.
And you're right to hate it.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Because this is only about the music. So if you don't like musicals, please don't watch this.
Well, and for a thing that is loosely held together and is only about the music, only about half the music is good. But the half that's good is incredible.
So good. But anyway, Paige,
Yes.
do you have any fun facts for us?
Yes.
Well, it is with your fun facts.
Mama, fun facts. The soundtrack features a cover of The Day Before You Came as sung by Meryl Streep. They only recorded that track because it's one of Benny Anderson's, one of the members of ABBA, and Richard Curtis, who helped produce this movie, favorite ABBA songs, and Streep wanted to sing it, but it's never actually in this movie as the lyrics are too specific. Dame Julie Walters, who plays Rosie, was given a day off from filming in November of 2017 when they were filming this, while they were taping the Angel Eyes number, which is the one that got famous on TikTok. So she could attend an investiture ceremony at Buckingham Palace where she was made a Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire by QE2, Queen Elizabeth II. The cast and crew gathered to surprise and welcome her back while singing There Is Nothing Like a Dame from the musical South Pacific.
Oh, I do actually love that song. I love South Pacific. Shit, that's so cool. Okay, that's great.
Cher picked Andy Garcia out of a bunch of selected actors. So they just let Cher pick.
Oh my God. Imagine having that kind of like clout that they can be like, Cher, would you please do our movie? And she's like, cool, but you have to let me fuck Andy Garcia. And so they're like, we'll call Andy. And Andy was probably like, are you kidding me? I'd love to. I don't know how he sounds, but I bet it's way sexier than I sound.
Probably. They have discussed making a third film.
Thank God. Thank God.
I don't know what's going to be in it.
Paige, you made me watch like 9 after films. I definitely would make you watch a third Mamma Mia.
We still have one after film left, I think.
God damn it. Why did I say it aloud?
Amanda Seyfried has said that she would be on board. However, she's questioned if there are enough unused ABBA songs for a third soundtrack, and she is right. But Dame Julie Walters, who has since retired from acting, has said that this would be the only movie that would bring her out of retirement. So she would do this movie, but that's like the only one. But again, I don't know if there's enough songs.
Good for her.
The 3 actors that played the young counterparts, Hugh Skinner, Jeremy Irvine, and Josh Dillon, all lived together in a villa in Croatia for the 6 weeks they were filming. They also all had to get spray tans.
Okay, of course they did, but yeah.
Yeah. Amanda Seyfried was told by her agent that this movie had been greenlit on the day she came home from the hospital after giving birth to her own daughter, which I think is actually kind of sweet.
That is very sweet.
When Donna and Harry sing the Waterloo number, he is wearing a Johnny Rotten shirt. This is a reference.
He is, yeah.
Yep. To Colin Firth in the first movie before he sings Our Last Summer, which is what they're playing on the piano in the scene.
Yeah.
And he refers to buying his guitar for 10 quid plus my Johnny Rotten t-shirt.
Oh, shit. That's such a nice little pull there.
Yes.
That's well done.
The first time Dame Julie Walters met Cher, she ran up to her in a rush of excitement and gave her a warm hug. However, her glasses got stuck in Cher's wig, leaving it tarnished, and a new wig had to be used for filming.
Not the wig. Oh.
Not the wig.
That's so funny. Although that's like you've got to be a certain level of famous to just see Cher and think you can go up and hug her.
Yeah.
Like that's not something I would be able to do without security guards attacking me, I'm sure.
People do all the time, though.
Why? Don't touch people.
I know, I agree, but I have heard multiple stories of people getting overwhelmed and hugging Cher and Cher being a total pro and being like, hey, Thank you. I can't do a good Cher, but like.
Honestly, you nailed it. That's exactly what Cher sounds like in my mind, which is also like half of Kristen Wiig's characters.
Holiday candles. Approved. Despite having worked in the industry for close to 50 years at this point, Meryl Streep has never done a sequel outside of this one.
Wow. Okay.
Oh my God.
What?
I just found a fun fact that makes me so happy. Cher recorded a full album of ABBA covers, aptly titled Dancing Queen. And the second we are off this phone call, I am downloading that album.
Yeah, we all should.
I know. Meryl Streep and Lily James are distant relatives, ninth cousins, 3 times removed. At that point, it doesn't count.
Ninth cousins? That's like so many distant Like, I'm probably a ninth cousin of Lily James or whatever.
Yeah, at this point, I'm like, we're all ninth cousins, right?
I know.
Cher is only 3 years older than Meryl Streep, despite them playing mother and daughter.
That checks out. And I'll say this, Cher doesn't look a day over 40, which is nuts because she's almost 80.
I'm sure it's a lot of touch-up.
Oh, yeah. I don't know where she's getting it, but she's shoving a lot of skin into her skin. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think whatever, like, I don't know, retinol product she's using has like stem cells in it because that woman looks 40 and she's twice that.
Oh, agreed. Writer and director, I think it's Ol Parker is how it's pronounced. I might be wrong.
It's O-L. I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce it either, but that's how you spell it.
Yeah. The line, "Be still my beating vagina," said by Tanya, Christine Baranski's character, was added into the script once Andy Garcia was cast because, quote, "he is that hot." And honestly agreed.
Paige, I always thought Andy Garcia was a handsome man. When like people were like, no, Andy Garcia can get it. I was like, that makes sense to me. I'm not into that, but I get it. I can see that he's a handsome man. And then I saw that handsome man sing for the first time in this movie and possibly play guitar. And I was like, I don't know how women are safe around him or just people who are attracted to silver fox men, you know, like you're helpless.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
There's no way Cher wasn't like trying on set a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, Andy.
I don't even think Cher has to try. I think Cher just points.
When they asked Cher who they wanted to play her counterpart in this, she yelled Andy Garcia like the guy from the Rolling Stone yells Diet Coke, and it just shows up in his hands.
Mick Jagger. Diet Coke.
Mick Jagger, yeah.
I hope to someday be Diet Coke Scream level of famous.
I would never do that. It's wild. Like, to me, that's like you got famous too young because you don't know what it's like to be an actual person in the world.
100%. I think if I were to do it, I would pay those people so much money and be like, I really respect you. I want to have a good working relationship with you. I just think this is funny. If at any time it's a problem, let me know.
You would set up the bit and include them in it.
Yes.
So it would be funny for everybody involved. Like, that's just you being a fun boss on some level.
Hey, I've been told multiple times in the last week or so that I am a good and fun boss. So it's going great.
Well, I am expecting similar praise on Boss's Day for my staff.
Diet Coke!
You know what sucks, though, is like it's really difficult to get a Diet Coke quickly when I yell that over Zoom because I work remotely. But I do make my employee drive 45 minutes from Hermitage to get a drink out of my fridge to hand to me.
Can I tell you something really, really funny right now?
Yes.
Quiet enough that maybe we won't hear it outside the door. We're out of Diet Coke right now.
You son of a bitch.
But I also know that Jake is home and that Jake, being a wonderful husband, if he heard me yell Diet Coke multiple times, would probably bring one just for the hilarity of it. And I bet he's running around looking for them, and there aren't any.
This joke never is not funny. It's like a really bad prank.
It's pretty bad. Anyway, they decided to model the plot of this movie around Godfather Part 2. Now, have you seen Godfather Part 2?
Paige, I've been a man my entire life. Yes.
That's what I figured.
Actually, I think it was the first Godfather I've seen. Godfather is one of those franchises outside the third one because my father was like, don't watch that one.
Yes, everybody kind of forgets that one.
but I don't remember a time before seeing Godfather and Godfather 2. Like that, they were just on as a kid.
Yeah, no, I've read both and seen the movies. But in the sense of the present and past occurring at the same time for us to kind of watch, which I do think was the right choice for this movie, 100%.
I think it works so well. will. Yeah, the themes in both of their lives and the step that Amanda is deciding to make, or is maybe perhaps being forced to make because of the pregnancy, although she seems excited about it. But I mean, the pregnancy does like, oh, it's time to like make some decisions and I do think her and her husband decide to stay and continue operating the hotel, whatever, and they're happy doing that. But they do, I think, make that decision pretty quickly because of the pregnancy, right? And so we're seeing all of that play out just like we saw it play out for her mom. And it's just like a really nice coupling of the story. I don't know. I like it a lot thematically.
Yeah, no, I do think as a writer, I would have done the same.
Yeah.
I think I would have made the same exact choice. They also listed all of their favorite ABBA songs that were left off from the first movie, as well as any of their favorites that are not in the first movie, that weren't in the play either or whatever. They put them up on a wall and then tried to fit as many of them in as they can. By the time they finished, only 5 songs were left on the wall, including Fernando, but they managed to fit it in later with including Cher. Because at the time they were writing, they probably still thought that they had Meryl Streep.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
At least this early on, because that's like,
right.
You probably don't have a full-fledged story. You have like themes, and you're trying to pull music that'll fit the themes and help that serve the story. So like that's probably super early on in the production of it. Yeah.
Yep. Now, Lily James, to prep for this, went to Stockholm, Sweden to work on the soundtrack with Benny Andersson and Bjorn Ulvaeus of ABBA.
shit.
And she was anxious to kind of establish her own feel for the music outside of just listening to ABBA for years. And I think that really pays off because she does an incredible job in this movie.
Yeah.
And her versions have so much emotion and her voice is beautiful. I really did enjoy her.
Yeah, she's great.
When they were filming the credit scene, they just blasted Super Trooper and let the cast have fun.
Hell yeah.
And so what is seen is just cherry-picked bits of that.
Yeah.
And during that scene, the male cast members competed to see who could stuff the most down their spandex trousers. Good for them.
Guys, we're so dumb and I love it. Pierce Brosnan was like, oh, look, I got a whole tower in here.
Sir, another sock has hit the sweatpants. So Cher was originally offered the role of Tanya in the first movie, which she turned down.
That makes sense. I mean, she is only 3 years older than Meryl Streep. Like, it would make sense that they would be college together at the same time.
Yes. Now, she agreed to appear in this movie in a different role by the invitation of her former agent, Ron Meyer, who by the time this movie came out, was now the head of Universal Pictures.
What? Okay.
Yes.
It's good to have a friend in the picture business.
It is. There are some bonus songs in the soundtrack that they cut for pacing. Good for them. Good job, guys.
Yeah, probably a good call.
Young Donna and old Donna have different colored eyes, but no one seems to notice or care.
They didn't even have one of them wear contacts.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you would have had to make Lily James wear them because she's the new addition.
Right.
Meryl Streep's eyes were in the last movie, so.
Yeah. I will say part of the reason the dance stuff looks so great is the choreographer is the same that worked with the traveling Mamma Mia North American Farewell Tour. So they've got good people working there.
Yeah.
But I'll end on this fun fact, and there are a bunch more fun facts if you want to look at them, but this is the film debut of Nina Sadowski, who is the daughter of Amanda Seyfried, because they used her actual baby.
What? That's adorable.
And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again in 2018?
I believe it is probably obscene. So I'm going to say $65 million.
Oh, Paige, come on. That would be insane, right? 65, half of this takes place on a soundstage in LA, so naturally it costs $75 million.
I fucking knew it, damn it.
Paige, that would be $94 million if they had spent that dollars today. That's the inflation on it, right?
Fun facts, that soundstage is in Croatia.
Is it?
Yeah, most of this was filmed in Croatia.
That would make it cheaper though. Come on. Okay. But still, I mean, you do have really big stars in this movie.
I think 30 million of that is Cher.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of it is probably music rights.
Probably, but I bet some of it is Cher, and she got Andy Garcia rights. So
And she got Andy Garcia, that's right.
Yeah. I know a lot of ladies who would do it for Andy Garcia and Scale. So
I think they also were trying to get as many of the people from the first movie back, and that was probably expensive.
Of course. I also think they wrote it into the story to make it seem like, oh, we're not going to see Meryl Streep or Harry or Bill because they didn't sign on for this movie. And we do see all of them eventually. So we
get everybody. Yeah.
Anyway, this movie was number 2 the weekend it came out, which was the weekend of July 20th, 2018. It was beat by another sequel that came out this month, and only beat this one by $2 million. And that was The Equalizer 2, which, like Meryl Streep's situation, that is Denzel Washington's first sequel.
Oh, yeah. And then he went on to do Equalizer 3.
Yeah, he's done another one.
Honestly, the Equalizer movies, not bad.
I saw the first one, liked it, have not caught the second, but would.
Yeah.
Number 2 was obviously Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. Number 3 was Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation.
That was Dracula's first sequel.
And number 4 was Ant-Man and the Wasp. And number 5 was Incredibles 2, which means, and I think this may be the first time this has ever happened on any of the movie podcasts that we do.
All sequels.
All 5 of the top 5 at the box office were sequels. Not one original movie amongst them, and that makes me a little bit sad. Although, Paige, original movie Skyscraper was number 6 that week.
Oh, Skyscraper. It doesn't fit on any podcast, but if you want to see The Rock make Die Hard, but with a prosthetic leg, Skyscraper.
Scene. Anyway, what do you think Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again brought in its opening week when it was second at the box office?
This was a big old hit. This absolutely made money. I'm going to say opening weekend, this made $40 million.
Paige, you are close. The Equalizer only brought in 36, but Mamma Mia brought in 34.9. So it was actually closer. It was like $1.1 million off of being number 1. Like, it was close this weekend. Equalizer did eke it out with 36 even million in its opening weekend. But again, Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again was $34.9 million. This movie was second in the theater in its second week as well, which this is interesting too. So Mission Impossible Fallout came out that next week.
Ooh.
And it brought in $61 million. Like it ate up the box office, right?
That's what I saw in theaters, by the way.
Of course you did. But number 2 was Mamma Mia again, meaning The Equalizer went from number 1 to number 3, and Mamma Mia had higher staying power, which is interesting. But this movie was in the top 5 for its first 3 weeks and was in the top 10 for its first 5 weeks, but it was never again in the top 10 after that, but it was in theaters for 12 weeks total. Anyway, what do you think it made in the box office domestically while it was in theaters in 2018?
Domestically, let's see, opening weekend at 34. I'm going to put this at around 92
Paige.
domestically.
It was actually $120.6 million.
That's great. Good for them.
Paige, that is great. But you know what's greater? It made $272.8 million internationally for a total of $393.4 million, which is so much money. Even on a $75 million budget, like that's a crazy amount of money. And if you adjust that $390.4 million to today's dollars, that's almost $500 million. It's $493.2 million today. It's crazy. That's a crazy amount of money. It made almost $500 million today on what is roughly a $94 million budget. That's crazy. Anyway, make a third. I want it. But Paige, that's your box office. Do you want to hit us with that romance scale?
Sure, our romance scale is a scale from 1 to 4 because Mikey said so. Todd, how romantic was this movie for you today?
It wasn't at all romantic. There's not really much romance. It is a hella sweet mother-daughter story, though.
Yeah.
So, like, I did love it, but I wouldn't say it's romantic, so I'm going to say a 1.
I would say the main romance is between us, the viewer, and the music of ABBA. And I'm also here to tell you, as I'm downloading this Cher album, it's basically all the best ABBA songs from the first movie.
Great. I can't wait to listen to all of them.
Can't wait to listen to all of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to give it a 1.
Yeah, it's fair.
Hey, Todd, what are we watching next?
Well, Paige, as this movie may have indicated, have struggled to find destination wedding movies that are like worth doing. So I thought we'd change it up a little bit next week, because next week is the episode that will be coming out literally the day after Natalie and I will get married. So I thought, as a wedding gift to my now wife.
When it comes out, wife, yes.
Yeah, when that episode comes out, she will be my wife. So I'm going to have her on, and we're going to do her favorite possibly movie. There's like this or one other one that she might call her favorite movie. And it sort of does take place at a destination. Like,
Sure.
people travel to a different place and realize they're in love.
Sure.
So, like, I'm going to count it. That movie is Eurovision. We've talked about it a few times, actually.
I love it. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite Dan Stevens performances.
Oof.
I also think the music in this is incredible for a movie that has a lot of original music in it. That's very tough to make original music catchy. But if Ya Ya Ding Dong isn't stuck in your head for the rest of your fucking life, there's something wrong with you.
I haven't watched Eurovision in probably a year. I could sing every lyric of Ya Ya and Ding Dong, and if I didn't get it right, you could punch me in the face.
Okay.
Like, I know all of the lyrics because it's so catchy.
Yeah. I think for me, one of my favorite parts of Eurovision is the inclusion of elf lore. And I'm excited to get into it.
Paige, I think it's time someone started talking about the truth.
About the elves?
Yes.
Absolutely.
They commit a murder
So fun.
in that movie. Anyway, your homework for next week is to watch an elf murder someone from off camera in the movie Eurovision, and then check back for that episode that'll feature my then wife, Natalie.
I like that, Todd, for your month, you basically tricked us into doing a musical month.
You know what? It just occurred to me now that that is absolutely correct.
We should have saved 7 Brides for 7 Brothers for this.
We can always revisit it, Paige. I love that movie.
We don't need to do it again.
But that's your homework. Just watch Eurovision. It's way better. It's way better than 7 Brides for 7 Brothers.
Yeah, no, Eurovision is legitimately good, and we will get to nerd out about Eurovision, one of my favorite cultural weird things.
Yes, it's great. Anyway,
Yes.
that's your homework.
Do you have any reviews for us, Todd?
I do have some Spotify comments, so let me bring that up right now. So this Spotify comment is going to come from our most recent The Fall Guy episode. Candace, who left us a comment, just commented Christmas shoes, all caps, and then a red shoe emoji.
Yes!
So yeah, people were talking about Christmas shoes. So yeah, I'll read this other comment that also does talk about Christmas shoes. And this one's from Hannah, and they say, I love when Jeff comes to visit. Him talking about Christmas shoes made me laugh so hard I had to pause for 10 minutes just so I could finish the episode. And like, that part was hilarious, so I get it. Thank you guys so much for listening. And if you want to have me read your Spotify comment or Apple 5-star review, leave one of those things and I will do just that. So yeah, if you guys like this show and want to hear our other show where we talk about horror movies, that is The Horror Virgin. That's the only other podcast I am on, but Paige is also on Cult Podcast, which you can find at Cult Podcast. And you can find us on social media. I am at Todd J. Awesome, literally everywhere. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Instagram.
No, it's at Rampage Wesley on Instagram and TikTok, at Paige Wesley on Twitter.
That's right. All right. So that's where you can find Paige. If you want to find the show, we are at Romancing the Pod Show, right?
Yep, Romancing Pod Show on Twitter.
Well, and Instagram, right?
And Instagram, but it's show SHO because character limits. If you start typing Romancing the Pod, it'll come up.
It'll definitely come up on Instagram. I don't know about Twitter because I haven't posted on Twitter in a hot ass minute. So like, who knows? But that is where you can find more of us. So yeah, guys, give us a follow. Support the show any way you can. We'd love it.
Smash that like button.
Hell yeah.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
To Greekpletion.
Bye.
Bye. This movie ripped off Sports Night nerds.
There was something on the mic that night. The stars were bright. Romancing.